We painted each other. He was a very fine amateur artist. Sir John Longstaff is quoted as saying Gamble was the best amateur painter he'd seen. And I'm a dilettante. I paint portraits. And one time we were going on circuit together somewhere. I think might have been Mildura. And the judge is the loneliest man in town on circuit. He can't be seen with anybody. Before we went away, I said to Freddie, why don't we take our paints up? I'll paint you, you paint me. And he said, oh, great idea. So we went to his chambers to his room in the pub, and we set up the easels and painted each other. Well, in the morning, dipping the paintbrush in the glass of beer didn't improve the taste of the beer or the quality of the picture, so we didn't have an entry for the Archibald at the end of it. But we had a lot of fun doing it. But Freddie would come out with things with a dead straight face, where you're putting a serious argument to him on law, and he'd come out with something like, tell me, Mr. Opas, what do you think of the case of Glasscock and Balls? Well, there is such a case, as there seems to be in those funny names in English reports, but had nothing to do whatever with the case in point. And I'd make some similarly facetious remark, and he'd look serious and confuse the opposition, saying, yes, you're quite right. Neither of the references had anything to do with the case in point and made no difference to the outcome of the case. But practising law could be fun. Sir Charles Lowe, whose portrait appears in this building, was said to look more wise than any man could possibly be. I don't think any portrait could do his wisdom justice. He was the epitome of the ideal judge to me, but he had a wonderful sense of humour. He used to bail me up at a bar dinner, usually in the toilet, saying, tell me, Opas, what is the latest story going the rounds at Owen Dixon? He says, I've got to mix with such a dull bunch of people. And he enjoyed a good joke. And I remember in the days when divorce had to be a matter dealt with in the Supreme Court of the state, when we'd appear in our undies, as we called the undefended divorces, when you'd do a few a day. And I was waiting to get on in one, and Sir Charles was was adjudicating in a case where a man was being divorced on the ground of his adultery with his wife's mother. And he looked at me without showing any signs of emotion, and he said, this appears to be a case when a man has been able to get on with his mother-in-law. And this sort of thing went on, and another case where a witness in front of him gave his name as Arthur Adam Peach, and his counsel interpolated, Your Honour, that is spelt Pietszch. Sir Charles looked down and said, tell me, how does he spell apricot? Well, things in those days softened the harshness of law. It tended to make us more conscious of the reality of life than the prosaic, esoteric language in which so many of our contests were couched.